welcome to your next tutorial. In today's session we're going to be learning about artist Georgia O'Keeffe.
Georgia O'Keeffe was an American artist, born in 1887 and died in 1986. She was known for her paintings of enlarged flowers, natural forms and New Mexico landscapes. O'Keeffe created simplified images of natural things, such as leaves, flowers, rocks and skulls. The power of O'Keeffe's work comes from her mastery of essential elements of art: line, colour and composition. In 2014, Jimson Weed, or White Flower No. 1, was sold for an incredible $44.4 million, making Georgia O'Keeffe the highest-selling woman in art.
This painting here is called Red Canna and was made by Georgia O'Keeffe in 1924. What I particularly like about this painting is the use of colour. So here we have complementary blue with the oranges. So the orange and the blue really interact with each other and make the colours really stand out. There's lots of lovely blending that's going on here, lots of areas of dark to light or harmonious oranges to reds to yellows. So today we're going to be learning about what colours to use, how to mix your colours, what your palette should look like, and we're going to be talking about what brushes you can use and different techniques to achieve these kind of blending. Now this would have originally been an oil painting, so it's quite a different medium, but we're going to be using acrylic. The colours that I've used were yellow, red and blue, along with white. So it's really important that you understand your colour theory and you know how to mix your primary colours together in order to create a range of colour. Now I never use black with my work because it tends to suck away the light. So even the darkest areas here are mixed with blue, red and yellow to create dark kind of browns or deep reds or deep purples. So I want you to try and give that a go. So just keeping quite a limited palette of red, yellow, blue and white. I hope you enjoy it. I hope that you can learn from this even if you're not painting something like this, but you're painting maybe one of your own acrylic paintings, so you can still transfer those techniques to your own work.
So this is the equipment you'll need. You'll need a palette. You'll need a selection of brushes. These are the ones that come from Sea White Brighton, which are the brushes that came in the Bedford Free School art kit. I have another selection of dry brushes, so I can teach you how to do some dry brushing. We have our red, yellow, blue paint, white paint, water pot, and then you want an old t-shirt or a kitchen towel or something to just dry off your brush and wipe off any excess paint. Make sure you organise your palette, arranging the lightest colours on one end, then work your way through to the darkest colours. You want to make sure you have plenty of space for mixing, so you keep your purples near your reds and your blues, your oranges near your reds and your yellows, and then your lighter colours near the end. I see lots of students get really messed up with their palette, so it's a good practice to keep. Always put a base layer down, whether you're working on a canvas or whether you're working on paper. This is really good at saving you time later on. With this base layer, it means you don't necessarily have to do 2 or 3 detailed layers, which are the more time consuming. Now to choose the colour, I normally go with the most common colour on the palette, so I've chosen a yellow here. Your next step is to map out the different areas that you'll be painting. You could use pencil for this. I've chosen a darker colour paint that also features strongly in the work, so I'm using a red. You don't want to be adding detail at this stage because you'll be painting in the detail. It's really important that you constantly look at your original source. So you'll see that I'm working with the piece of paper that I'm copying in my hand, always referring back to it. This part can take some time. Here I've already added in the white and added in the grey-blue at the top. The grey-blue was made mixing white with blue and a little bit of red. Now for any painting you want to try and paint the background first. For a painting like this with quite a complex composition, it's quite hard to see what's in the background, so have a look and see what you can paint first which appears to be furthest away. Now I'm painting using my harmonious colours, and I'm actually using a technique which is when I mix on the canvas. So you can see that I've painted the red and then the yellow and then used an orange in between. Now if you're quick enough, you can actually blend it on the canvas before the acrylic dries, but you don't have much time before acrylic dries. Here I'm using a thinner, fine, soft bristle brush. It's from Sea Whites of Brighton, but any soft brush will do in order to paint the smaller areas. And then I'm using the wider, flat-headed brush in order to paint bigger areas. Try not to use a really tiny brush for larger areas because it will simply take up more time for no extra benefit. Here I'm going to talk you through a blending technique. So I've painted the larger part orange and then I've added my darker tones in over the top on the edge. Now I'm starting to mix the orange with that kind of dark red to create some tertiary colours, which are the colours that connect the orange. And then before it completely dries, I'm working over the top. And then I'm doing the same with the yellow, and before it dries, I'm blending it through to the orange. It's a good idea to block out areas of colour that are quite similar. So here you can see me blocking out a whole petal with just one shade of orange. After blocking out big areas of colour, I can add the detail in afterwards. So using a soft, fine brush, I add a line around the edge in order to show the details of the edge. Now I'm using a long-handled bristle brush to blend that in, and that's what's called dry brushing. So I use my soft brush for the edge to get that nice, clean, crisp edge, and then I switch to my bristle brush and I just dry brush, which is just moving the paint across the surface. Now you can only dry brush when you have the colour that you want underneath. If that colour, that orange wasn't there, it wouldn't look very good. So here comes the finer details. So using a thinner brush, I start to pick out some of the lighter tones, the darker tones, the edges. Now it can be a really good idea to turn your canvas on its side in order to reach the area that you want to get to, or even turn your paper on its side. Quite often we struggle to try and reach over the other side of the canvas when we can just turn it round. It's also a great way to gain a new perspective on your painting and see it in a different way, especially if you've been working on it a while. So here I'm starting to look really carefully at my photo. I have the photo in my hand so I can really see it, and I am picking out all of those little details, being careful not to just outline everything because that's not what OKeeffe would have done. So it could be lighter areas, it could be darker areas, it could be making parts of it a little bit crisper, a little bit clearer. This part is quite time consuming, but it's really worth spending your time on it. So here's the finished painting, my very own version of Georgia O'Keeffe's Red Canna. And of course, with any art practice, it comes with practice. So please keep on painting, keep on trying out the different techniques. One technique won't work for everything. You really have to explore and experiment. Happy painting!